We made it! Finally, Election Day is here, and voters are voting on this first Tuesday after the first Monday in America. Election Day. At this very moment, polls opening up and down the East Coast in a presidential race that will mark an extraordinary moment in American history. The events of this year, let's put it simply, they've been stunning. Donald Trump facing a felony conviction and then an assassination attempt. Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket for just 107 days after President Joe Biden stepped aside. And the way each is framing this race, the way each talks about America, sharply illustrates the choice facing our country this morning.
I'll start giving you some beautiful things to listen to and honestly, some terrible things to listen to.
After nearly a decade of politics dominated by Trump, the former president held what might have been his final campaign rally ever in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It went like this.
Kamala is, this is known, she's a very low IQ person, and we don't need a low IQ individual. Crazy, horrible human being, Nancy Pelosi, who cheats like hell. She's an evil, sick, crazy. Oh, no. But these are bad people. These are bad. Adam Shifty Schiff. No, they have to cheat. They have to cheat, and they do it very well, actually.
His opponent, Kamala Harris, choosing a different tone, deciding not to mention Donald Trump by name here in the closing days. She ended her last day on the trail in Philadelphia. Lady Gaga, Oprah, the final headliners for Harris, the Rocky Steps nearby, invoking the ultimate underdog. The symbolism of the location also designed to illustrate how Harris and her team view the stakes of this election.
It's good to be back in the city of brotherly love, where the foundation of our democracy was forged. And here at these famous steps, a tribute to those who start as the underdog and climb to victory. We have an opportunity in this election to finally turn the page on a decade of politics that has been driven by fear and division. We are done with that. We're done. We're exhausted with it. Tonight, then we finish as we started, with optimism, with energy, with joy.
All right, on this election day, our panel's here. Annie Linskey, reporter for The Wall Street Journal. Alex Thompson, national political reporter for Axios, CNN political analyst. Bakari Sellers, CNN political commentator, former South Carolina state representative. And Brad Todd, Republican strategist. Welcome to all of you. Thrilled to have you. We made it. It's here.
Constitution says we must stop.
E-Day, baby.
God bless the Constitution.
It's a cherished freedom.
Alex, let me start with you. I want to get kind of everyone's sense as we head into this election day of how in your two cases, your sources are feeling, those that you're talking to, your candidates are looking at this. I mean, Alex, what are you hearing from the Harris campaign this morning?
They say optimistic, but they always caveat it with some different adverb. Cautiously, fragilely. Like
Isn't nauseously also one of the ones that keeps coming up?
They basically, and most of them say they feel that I've talked to, they feel they'll win, but they'll win narrowly. There's some that think that they have a chance to win more. There are also some that still just sort of don't want to even predict because they don't want to jinx it. But I think most of the Harris people I've talked to just feel the blue wall will hold, and that if the blue wall holds, she wins 270, 268. Maybe she picks up one more state.
Annie, what are you hearing?
Yeah,
how does the Trump team feel if you've talked to them?
Yeah, I've talked to some of the Trump people. They were just flat out optimistic a week ago. I mean, people I was talking to were saying he is the president, Vance is the vice president. I mean, there was a confidence, and that has shifted a little bit, at least in terms of the staff members that you talked to over there. But on the Harris side, there is this sense that Donald Trump has basically made her closing argument for her and some of the things that he has said over the past 10 days. And so they've sort of sat back a little bit. And I think that if at the end of the day, and we don't know what's going to happen, obviously it's a very close election, but if at the end of the day she prevails, he really would have lost this election rather than the other way around.
Brad, what are you seeing and hearing for viewers who may not know? I know you're really involved in that key Senate race in Pennsylvania. You're seeing a lot of data coming in on the ground. Does what you're seeing line up here?
Well, the key takeaway so far is the Democratic performance in early voting and absentee voting has been way, way, way off what they wanted it to be. They have to do something today that they haven't done in 20 years, which is to get a massive performance from their base on Election Day. Democrats, through the Obama campaign, Breyer was involved, they shifted their voting to early voting 20 years ago, and they became masters at it. They have not succeeded at that this year to the level that they wanted. So they have to do it today. Can it happen? Of course. They've done it before, but it's been a long time.
Bakari, is that true?
No. We actually hit all of our numbers in early voting that we wanted to hit. I mean, if you look at Georgia, North Carolina, we kind of came on strong late, particularly in Georgia. But I mean, we're going to be looking at, we still need, I mean, he is correct in the fact that we do need turnout today. But everybody's really confident about where we are. I mean, Georgia is ripe for a Harris victory. I mean, particularly in those 3 areas that I keep mentioning where people still need to come out. The thing I want people to understand is in Georgia in particular, Republicans have exhausted all of their votes in Republican rural counties. They've exhausted 98, sometimes more than 100% of their voters. But still in these areas like Fulton County, right, like Chatham County, like Richmond County, Savannah, Augusta, Atlanta, there's so much room there, and you're going to see those people show up to the polls. In North Carolina, we get 300,000 black voters today to show up at the polls. We win North Carolina. Is that a lot? No.
Well, you know, one thing I would throw out about Georgia, though, the fact that rural Republicans have already turned out in waves in early voting records tells you the Republicans don't have an enthusiasm problem. The fact that Democrats have not come out the way they did in 2020 tells you might have an enthusiasm problem.
Well, 2 things. Enthusiastic votes count as much as
Sure,
unenthusiastic
absolutely.
votes.
That's the story of 2012.
But also Democrats on the ground in Georgia that I've talked to, the one thing that does give them anxiety is in 2020 you had Raphael Warnock on the ballot. You do not have a statewide black elected, like a senator that's been there for a long time and that is
Or a
organized.
Stacey Abrams that is
Yes,
organizing.
exactly. You do not have them on the ballot this time. There's also just concern, not necessarily with Atlanta and the immediate suburbs, but sort of, what do rural black voters do? What do rural black men voters do? There's also a little bit of concern because Trump finally made nice with Governor Kemp down there, belatedly for sure. But he does have that. He does have a little bit of that machine behind him. Does that make the difference? Bakari is not wrong. I'm just saying this is what Democrats in Georgia have anxiety about.
Yeah. Brad, how much does the way Trump is closing impact? I mean, you look at, say, Dave McCormick's Senate race, and you can kind of extrapolate out to the presidential, right? I mean, how much does that rhetoric hurt him here in the final days?
It's not as much what Trump said as what he didn't say in the last couple of days. I thought his rally yesterday was devoid of ideology. I think the way to beat Kamala Harris to say she's a California liberal who's further out from the mainstream. I didn't hear near as much of that in the last 2 days or so as I would have liked from Donald Trump. I think that he's not an ideological person himself, and so therefore I think he doesn't project that the voters are going to be ideological in their decision making. But that's Kamala Harris's vulnerability. If I were Donald Trump, that's what I've been saying the last 2 days.
Bakari, what would you be doing differently if you were running the Harris campaign? Anything at all?
No, I mean, look, you started July 21st. You're here. I mean, you raised and spent $1.2 billion. You kind of built this plane while you're flying, and you're running against. The unique thing about Donald Trump is that outside of 2016, he hasn't won anything. I mean, you can put Donald Trump in any light you want to put him in. 2018, walloped. 2020, got beat. 2022, you guys had us on here talking about this red wave that was coming. And you know what happened to the red wave? It never showed up at the.
Well, in fairness, in 2016, you would have been telling me that Clinton was going to win. So
well,
it happens.
I mean, my point is he's won 1 out of the last 4 cycles.
Nikki Haley might argue he's won another one.
Well, I mean, and actually, one of the things we saw last night that nobody's really talking about is the Dixville Notch voters.
Yes.
Right? And the unique thing about.
And the Dixville Notch there's 6 of them. It was 3-3, split right down the middle, like the polling is showing. Continue.
Who did they all vote for in the primary?
What's that? That I don't have to hand. Go ahead.
Nikki Haley.
Right.
So out of the 6,
But
Nikki.
to be fair, if you look at how they voted, I did examine the results
Yeah,
from this morning from Dixville's Notch, and they did 4 of them voted for the Democrat in the congressional race. So there's a lot of ticket splitting going on in Dixville.
Yeah,
Notch.
it
I'm
is
not
actually
sure
a
about-
fascinating
Kellyanne
little
in the
group.
governor's race.
Yes, they voted for
Yeah.
Kellyanne.
But it's 4 registered.
But they
my
all
point-
voted for
my-
Biden in 2020, and
but
now
my-
they're split.
But my point is that there are 4 registered Republicans and 2 unregistered. There's not a singular Democrat in there. There's not a singular registered Democrat of those 6. You know what that means? I mean, that we
They
can,
are New England Republicans.
This tells you how desperate we are to talk about 6.